Panthers Insider back on Sports Radio 93.7 The Fan. We'll go straight out to the fan hotline. Honored to be joined this morning by an all-time great and the 2025 commencement speaker for the University of Pittsburgh, Larry Fitzgerald. Larry, good morning, my friend.
Morning, Pat. How's your day?
I'm doing good, man. Welcome to the Steel City. I know you got in last night. Tell our fans how excited you are for this opportunity. Obviously, a chance to speak to the students at the university tomorrow at commencement and give them advice for the rest of their lives.
Oh yeah, I mean it's one of those things that it's hard to really put into words like what it means, right? To be bestowed an honor of that, this is the highest magnitude, and I hold the University of Pittsburgh in the highest regards. I hold the city in the highest regards. To be able to come back here and spend time with the bright minds of the graduates of the University of Pittsburgh is amazing, and I'm just so thankful that the university would allow me the privilege to do this, and I'm really elated to be able to stand before the young people tomorrow and just try to give them a little bit of my experience, and hopefully it can help guide them to have the lives that they all aspire to. Let's
talk about your experience. You get to Pitt, you kind of stumble upon Pitt. Let's go back in time to a young Larry Fitzgerald that decides to stop in Pittsburgh. How did that happen? How did you find Pitt?
Well, yeah, I don't like to say I stumble. I mean, the Lord guides our steps,
right?
And He wanted me here, and it was up to me just to follow that path. And I'm thankful, God rest his soul, Coach Ed Cole was my offensive coordinator at the Academy of Holy Angels back in Richfield, Minnesota, and me and his son Andrew, who's now at he's a captain in the Navy, commands his own nuclear submarine out in Washington, D.C., and really proud of him and what he's accomplished with his life. But we took a road trip, and we were originally intended to go to Penn State, and a rainstorm kind of slowed our progress, and we were stuck here in the city. And Coach Cole said, hey, we might as well just go visit the University of Pittsburgh. We're here. We have nothing else going on. So I said, cool. I mean, I had no reservations about it. We went over. This is before the facility was even built over on the south side. And ironically, the coaches were all officing at that time at Sutherland Hall, where I stayed as a freshman. And we went over, and I got a chance to meet J.D. Brookhart and Paul Rhodes and Brian Deal and Coach Harris and Tom Freeman and Bob Junko and so many other men who had a major impact on my life. And we just forged the relationships, and then that's kind of where it started. So very thankful that the Lord ordered our steps to be here, and my life took a great turn for the positive by making the decision to come here.
Larry, talk to us about Coach Harris. Walt Harris took over the program in the late 90s, and it was not in good stead, and he did some great work prior to your arrival, but speak to his impact on you, not only as a player, but as a person.
Well, he's an offensive savant, and so I didn't know him, obviously, at that age as well as I know him now or spending time when I was actually in school, but when I met him and he talked to me about his time at Tennessee, his time at the Jets, his time at Ohio State, and how he was able to develop so many of those talented players and help them emerge as NFL prospects, that was really intriguing to me. And, you spend any time with Coach Harris and you're a football person, you will immediately connect with him. He is all about ball. He's all about the details and the preparation to be great. And I really wanted to be around a mind like that every single day to kind of help guide me to where I was hoping to be one day, and that's playing in the National Football League. So it was a no-brainer. When I sat down on my official visit and we went on the chalkboard and we talked ball, like this guy's brain moved at a different frequency when it came down to the X's and O's, and I thought that being around him will give me that chance, and that's one of the biggest reasons why I decided to come.
We're talking to a man with a career highlight and accolade list that's too long to recite, but it's Larry Fitzgerald, former Pitt Panther, speaking at commencement tomorrow at the University of Pittsburgh down at PPG Paints Arena. You said X's and O's in football, mind. I know you've run a lot of plays over your career, and I'm a former quarterback, so I love this stuff. Is there a favorite play that maybe is tied to a moment at the University of Pittsburgh that you recall that's like when that play was called, you knew it was for you?
Well, I didn't necessarily know it was for me because Coach Harris really coached the quarterbacks into not locking in on a receiver. You know, the coverage would dictate what you would do with the football. But anytime I heard switch or Virginia, I got really excited because, you know, it gave me the ability to kind of, you know, if you were a smart player, you could really play well in coaches because it had a lot of options. You know, Virginia, you stem in 2 yards, push vertical, and you read what's going on. You can sit it down, you can take it vertical, you can run in.
College football summer is no time to slouch because we are taking you to school on the Cover 3 podcast, part of the CBS Sports Podcast Network. It's time for our annual summer school series as we take time to break down some of your favorite teams with experts and insiders who know these depth charts from top to bottom. But summer school is just extra credit as we go through positional drafts, player rankings, and more. Follow and listen to the Cover 3 podcast on the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Like there's a lot of options, and it takes a lot of time for you to get on the same page, you know, with your quarterback Rod Rutherford, and be able to build that continuity where you would be able to connect. And you know, one of the most underrated opportunities I actually had was, you know, my roommate was Tyler Palco, highly recruited quarterback from West Allegheny, you know, son of Bob and Sally Palco. Coach Palco was one of the winningest coaches in WPO history. And, you know, being able to have him every day at night to talk to him about the offense, what he saw from a quarterback's perspective, really helped speed up my learning curve. Even though Tyler wasn't playing at the time, the guy was, like, relentless in terms of how he approached the game from a physical perspective, from a mental perspective, and to be able to have him every day to kind of bounce things off of him really was really helpful too. Like at night, and when we go home after meetings to talk through practice and things of that nature was great to have.
You know, Larry, we spent the early part of the show. College athletics is in an interesting place right now. Your son is being recruited. We won't dive into that. That's his race to run. But the value of education is something that obviously has been really important to you throughout your life. Your mother was an educator, and I think we have a lot of movement in college sports that is not about the long term. You're someone that played for a long time in the NFL and obviously earned quite a good living doing so, but you're incredibly active, obviously, post-football. What would be your message to young athletes right now about the balance between maybe what's right in front of you, but also about what's down the road and making decisions that will benefit you later in life?
Yeah, man, Pat, I'm actually really, really happy that, you know, I didn't play in this landscape, right? I think it's great. The athletes have for a long time not been compensated accurately and fairly for their contributions to the universities they play at, right? You know, we go to school under the premise that, you know, we are student athletes, and that paradigm has been completely shifted on top of its head. It's now, you know, athletes that, you know, play as students, right? And you know, if we're being honest, Pat, I mean, maybe 1%, 0.5% of college athletes of all sports will be able to go and play professional and do something that, you know, will earn themselves a living. And most, even if they do make it, are only going to be there for a short period of time, not enough where you can sit around and rest on your laurels for the rest of your life. So, like, I think the emphasis should be on finding a place that will nurture you in all regards of your life. When I picked the University of Pittsburgh, there was nothing about it that was a money decision. I knew this was the best place for me because I knew it was going to be a place where people were going to pour into me. They were going to hold me accountable. I was going to be in a city that was a blue-collar, hard-working place. So everywhere I went, you know, I felt that vibe, right? And, you know, if I made a decision that was purely based on money, all of the other things that really made my experience here at the university would have not been a part of my life. It wouldn't have nurtured me and helped me become the man that I am today. And there's no way I would be invited back to have an honor bestowed upon me, like being able to speak at a graduation, like I am tomorrow. And so all of those things come into my mind. And my son and I, we talk about these things and how important it is that you make a decision that if you went to a university and you got hurt the very first day you were there, do you think you can still thrive at that university based on other things that you take in consideration before you make that decision? So, like I said, I'm happy that the young people are being compensated because they should be a part of the revenue share. But I still think you need to take in consideration all the other things that are very important about making a decision of where you go to a university.
Wise words from Larry Fitzgerald. One last question for you, Larry. I know how detailed you are. You were a detailed player. You're obviously a detailed professional now. How much work has gone into tomorrow and this speech you've got prepared? I'm just curious as to a little peek behind the curtain and what's in store for those students tomorrow.
Well, the process started. I talked to Chancellor Gable. This was in, I want to say, February. So I found out then. And so by the end of March, after probably 10 or 15 sessions, me and my coach kind of narrowed it down, kind of the key points that I wanted to talk about, the things experiences that I had here and throughout my life that I thought would be applicable. We narrowed it down, got it down to, a suitable time where I felt like the students in attendance and parents wouldn't fall asleep because it was too long. I touched on those points. And when I got to about early April, I had it down pat, and then I read it pretty much once or twice every single day to be able to get my emphasis points, voice inflections, eye contact, things that I want to touch on. So I probably read it about 150 times, and hopefully I can deliver. Preparation is everything in life, and the more you prepare, the more comfortable you get. But, it's still going to be nerve-wracking to be able to go out there and stand in front of a lot of young people who are going to be leading our world into the future. And I want to make sure that I do a good job in honoring what they've accomplished.
Well, I know you take nothing for granted, but I'm sure it's going to be great. And on behalf of the university and of Panther Nation and all Pitt fans and grads and supporters out there, we thank you not only for what you're doing tomorrow, but for representing Pitt with the utmost class and obviously accomplishment throughout your career and into present day. So thank you, my man, and I look forward to watching tomorrow.
Thank you, Pat. I look forward to